Maybe just tell them you're still figuring things out. Mom's whispered advice cut through the gymnasium noise as we stood near the career day registration table. Her hand tight on my arm like she was physically restraining me from embarrassing her further. 200 middle school students were filing into the bleachers while parents set up presentation tables, and my mother was coaching me on how to minimize the shame of my YouTube thing in front of respectable professionals like my sister. I was adjusting the name card at my assigned table when I realized she wasn't offering encouragement. She was damage controlling what she saw as my failure to launch into a real career. The YouTube thing, she was apologizing for, had 8.7 million subscribers and had generated $14 million in revenue last year. Did my mother really think I should apologize for building a media empire, or did she just not understand what I'd actually built? Your sister Ashley is talking about nursing, Mom continued, gesturing toward my older sister who was arranging pamphlets about medical careers at the table next to mine. That's a real profession. Helping people, making a difference. You should have at least tried to present yourself as someone with ambition. Someone with ambition. I'd built a production company from scratch, employed 32 people, and had just signed a deal with Netflix, but apparently that didn't count as ambition. Look, there's Dr. Patterson, Mom said, pointing to a cardiologist setting up near the stage. And that's Detective Morris from the police department. And the woman in the pilot uniform is Captain Sanders. She flies for Delta. These are real careers, Brooke. Maybe you can learn something. Real careers. As opposed to my fake career creating educational content about science and technology that reached more people daily than most of these professionals would impact in their entire lives. I checked my phone. 9:47 a.m. Principal Davidson had sent me a text an hour ago. Ready for the big reveal? The kids are going to lose their minds. The big reveal. The thing Mom didn't know about because she'd never asked why I'd been invited to career day. Just try not to mention the YouTube stuff too much, Mom whispered urgently as more parents arrived. Maybe focus on your college degree? You can tell them you studied communications. That sounds professional. I had studied communications at Northwestern. Graduated with honors. Then I'd done the unthinkable. I'd turned down job offers at traditional media companies to start my own channel creating educational content about emerging technology, explaining complex scientific concepts through engaging experiments and demonstrations. That was 7 years ago. Mom, Ashley said, walking over. Maybe Brooke knows what she's doing. She makes videos on the internet, Ashley. That's not a career path we want to encourage middle schoolers to pursue. They need to understand real work, like what you do. Saving lives. Making a difference. I'm sure Brooke makes a difference too, Ashley said diplomatically, though I could tell she also didn't quite understand my work. Making a difference requires showing up, committing to something stable, Mom said. Not playing around with cameras and hoping for views. Playing around with cameras. My production studio had $4 million worth of equipment. My team included 3 camera operators, 2 editors, a production manager, a content director, and a full business operations staff. Principal Davidson was approaching the microphone on stage, tapping it to check the sound. Behind him, the school's tech crew was setting up the large screen for presentations. Good morning, Lakewood Middle School. Principal Davidson's voice boomed through the gym. Welcome to our annual career day. We have an exciting lineup of professionals who volunteered their time to share their career journeys with you. Students settled into the bleachers, phones away, attention forward. Parents stood near their tables, ready to engage with kids who rotated through stations. Before we begin the rotation, Principal Davidson continued, I want to introduce someone very special. Someone who embodies the changing landscape of careers in the digital age. Someone who proves that with passion, creativity, and dedication, you can build something extraordinary. Mom looked around, probably wondering which CEO or tech executive had shown up. This person started with nothing but an idea and a camera. Built an audience of millions, created a business that employs dozens of people, and won awards for making science and technology accessible to young people everywhere. Recognition was starting to dawn on a few parents' faces. Some of the students were pulling out their phones, showing each other something. Mom, Ashley whispered, I think he's talking about. Please join me in welcoming our featured speaker for Career Day, Principal Davidson said, his smile wide. Our very own Tech Entrepreneur of the Year, as recognized by the National STEM Education Association, Ms. Brooke Samantha Harrison. The tech crew pressed a button and a massive banner unfurled behind Principal Davidson. Career Day 2024. Featured speaker, Brooke Harrison. Tech Entrepreneur of the Year. Creator, Tech Decoded. The gymnasium erupted. Students were screaming, jumping, pulling out phones to take pictures. Teachers were clapping enthusiastically. Parents looked shocked. Mom had gone completely pale. "Mom," I said quietly, "that's me." "No, wait, what?" She was staring at the banner like it was written in a foreign language. "Brooke," Principal Davidson called, gesturing for me to come to the stage. "Could you join us?" The walk from my table to the stage felt like a mile. Students were chanting Tech Decoded. Tech Decoded. The name of my channel. Parents were whispering to each other, phones out, probably looking up my channel right now. I climbed the stage steps, and Principal Davidson handed me the microphone with genuine excitement. "How many of you know Tech Decoded?" I asked. At least 75% of the students raised their hands, many screaming, "I watch every week." For those who don't, I'll explain. 7 years ago, I started a YouTube channel dedicated to making science and technology accessible and exciting. I explained how smartphones work. I built robots. I demonstrated physics principles. I explored emerging technologies like AI and quantum computing. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the presentation screen. My channel appeared. 8.7 million subscribers, 1,247 videos, 2.1 billion total views. Tech Decoded. 8.7 M subscribers, 2.1 B total views, 847 videos in active catalog. That's my channel. 8.7 million subscribers. People all over the world watch my videos to learn about technology. I've explained everything from how the internet works to how we might colonize Mars. The students were mesmerized. The parents were rapidly recalculating their assumptions. But Tech Decoded isn't just a YouTube channel anymore, I continued. It's a media company. We employ 32 people, camera operators, editors, researchers, animators, business managers. We have a production studio in Denver. We create content not just for YouTube, but for educational platforms, museums, and science centers. I swiped to the next slide. Tech Decoded Media. Founded, 2017. Employees, 32. Annual revenue 2023, $14 million. Content partners, YouTube, Netflix, Discovery Education. $14 million in revenue last year, I said. From advertising, sponsorships, educational licensing, and content deals. This year we're on track for 18 million because we just signed a deal with Netflix to produce a series called Next Gen Tech, aimed at teenagers. Mom was sitting down now in a chair someone had brought her. Ashley stood beside her, scrolling frantically on her phone, probably pulling up my channel. "I want to tell you something important," I said, addressing the students directly. 7 years ago, my family thought I was wasting my time. When I turned down a job offer at NBC to start my own channel, my mom cried. She thought I was throwing away my future. I looked at Mom, who had tears in her eyes now for very different reasons. She wanted me to have a stable job, benefits, security. And I understand that parents want their children to be safe and successful. But I knew I could reach more people, teach more effectively, make a bigger impact by creating my own path. A student raised her hand. "Did you always know it would work?" "No. The first year, I made about $15,000 total. I lived with roommates, ate ramen, worked part-time at a coffee shop to pay bills. My family thought I was delusional, but I believed in what I was building. When did it start working?" a boy called out. Slowly, then suddenly. Year 2, I made $60,000, enough to quit the coffee shop. Year 3, $180,000, enough to hire my first employee. Year 4, $800,000, enough to lease studio space. By year 5, I had 12 employees and was doing $3 million in revenue. It grew because I was consistent, educational, and I genuinely cared about teaching. I pulled up another slide showing my awards. Recognition. Tech Entrepreneur of the Year, National STEM Education Association. Webby Award for Best Science and Education Channel. Streamy Award for Education Content. Featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 in Media. TED Talk. Making Science Accessible in the Digital Age, 4.2 M views. These awards aren't about ego, I explained. They're validation that educational content matters. That teaching through digital media is a real career. That you can make a difference and make a living doing it. Principal Davidson stepped forward. "Brooke, can you tell us about the scholarship program?" "Right, yes. I switched slides. Last year, Tech Decoded launched a STEM scholarship for students interested in technology and media. We're funding 10 full scholarships this year, $25,000 each, for students who want to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, or digital media. The gymnasium erupted in applause. One of those scholarships is specifically for Lakewood students, Principal Davidson added. Brooke grew up in this district. She wants to give back. After my presentation, students lined up for autographs and photos. Parents approached to ask about my business model, my growth strategy, how I'd built such a successful company. Mom and Ashley waited until the crowd thinned. Brooke, Mom said, her voice thick with emotion, I didn't know any of this. I thought you just posted videos online. I do post videos online. That's how it started. But it grew into a company, a brand, a platform that reaches millions of people. 8.7 million subscribers, Ashley said, showing Mom her phone where she'd pulled up my channel. Mom, she's famous. Like actually famous. Her videos have billions of views. Why didn't you tell us? Mom asked. I tried to tell you. I said I had a YouTube channel. You dismissed it as a hobby. I said I was hiring employees. You asked when I was getting a real job. I said I'd won awards. You changed the subject. But $14 million. I didn't lead with revenue because success isn't just about money. It's about impact. My videos are used in classrooms across the country. Teachers assign my content as homework. Kids tell me I'm the reason they became interested in science. That matters more than the money. Ashley hugged me. I'm sorry I didn't understand what you were building. This is incredible. I wanted you to be proud of me, I said quietly. But you were always comparing me to you, to nursing, to traditional careers. Like what I was doing wasn't legitimate. It's more than legitimate, Ashley said. It's revolutionary. You've impacted millions of people. I impact maybe 50 patients a week. You're changing how an entire generation learns about technology. Mom was crying openly now. I told other parents you were still figuring things out. I apologized for your YouTube thing. I was so embarrassed. I know. I heard you. I'm so sorry, Brooke. I should have asked. I should have been interested. I should have watched your videos, learned what you were doing, supported you. You should have, I agreed. But I also understand. You grew up in a different era. YouTube wasn't a career path when you were making career decisions. You couldn't imagine it being legitimate because it didn't look like traditional success. A student approached shyly. Ms. Harrison, can I ask you something? Of course. My parents want me to be a doctor or a lawyer. But I want to be a game designer. They say it's not a real career. What should I do? I looked at Mom, then back at the student. Show them what's possible. Do the research. Show them successful game designers. Show them the industry numbers. Prove you've thought it through. But also understand they're scared for you. They want you to be secure. It's not about controlling you. It's about loving you and wanting you to be okay. The student nodded and walked away. Was that for me? Mom asked. It was for both of you. Parents want security for their kids. Kids want to pursue their passions. Both are valid. The trick is communication and education. Over the next hour, I rotated through small groups of students, talking about digital media, technology education, and building a career from passion. Mom stayed the entire time watching, listening, finally understanding what I'd been building. As career day ended and students filed out, Principal Davidson approached with a tablet. The student response survey just came in. You were rated the most inspiring speaker by 92% of students. The second highest was Captain Sanders at 43%. That's great. More importantly, 12 students wrote that you changed their perception of possible careers. 5 said you inspired them to pursue technology education. 3 said you made them believe they could build their own path. That was worth more than the revenue, the awards, or the subscribers. Mom drove me home after career day, the car quiet for the first miles. I looked at your channel during lunch, she finally said. I watched 3 videos. The one about how 5G works. The one about artificial intelligence. The one explaining quantum computing. What did you think? I think you're an incredible teacher. I think you make complex things understandable. I think you have a gift for communication and education. She paused. I think I've been an idiot for 7 years. You weren't an idiot. You were scared. I was judgmental. I was closed-minded. I was so convinced that real careers looked a certain way that I couldn't see what you were building. Do you understand now? I understand you've built something extraordinary. I understand you're impacting millions of lives. I understand I should have trusted you. She pulled into my driveway. Can I subscribe to your channel? I smiled. You can. Will you teach me? About what you do. I want to understand your work, not just the numbers, but the impact. I'd like that. 2 weeks later, Mom sent me a text. Just watched your video about renewable energy with Dad. We learned so much. So proud of you. Red heart. She'd subscribed. She'd watched. She'd learned. And she'd finally understood that real careers didn't have to look traditional to be legitimate. They'd said, at least try like I wasn't trying. The principal introduced me as Tech Entrepreneur of the Year. The banner unrolled. The students cheered. And my mother learned that sometimes the career path that looks least traditional is actually the one that changes the most lives. 8.7 million subscribers. 14 million in revenue. Billions of views. But what mattered most was the student who approached me after, who said I'd inspired her to believe she could build her own path. That's what real careers do. They inspire. They educate. They change lives. Even when they start as just a YouTube thing.